Hi, this is Colin Hung with Healthcare IT Today, and I am excited to sit down with NTT DATA Services, Milissa Campbell,
Hi, Colin.
Managing Director, Health Plan and Life Sciences Consulting, and Dr. Richard Swafford, Director of Industry Consulting. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking about personalization in healthcare, which is a really cool topic and a very important field. And so really I'm interested to learn more about how we can actually achieve it in healthcare.
Absolutely.
Now, I've heard many healthcare organizations talk about this. I'm actually not sure if it's just lip service or like there's something behind this. But maybe for our audience, if you could define for us, what does personalization in healthcare mean to you?
Okay. And we use a pretty simple construct. It's sending the right message to the right person at the right time in the right way or channel that will resonate with them. And so when you think about personalized messaging and it's different than segmentation, right? We talked about this with a partner of ours yesterday. You know, running a query to find your diabetics in a certain zip code, that's not personalized healthcare, right? What do we know about Colin that tells us how to message him and how to provide care to him that resonates and will drive action, which drives outcome? So personalization, it's those four things, right? Right message, right person, right time, right way. So that's the definition we use.
You know, and Colin, interestingly enough, the term personalization is sort of has spawned from engagement and experience, right? So, you know, we deal in healthcare a lot with shiny objects. So that term is somewhat of a rebranding of what we've been dealing with around patient engagement and patient experience for decades.
Absolutely.
Just for the record, in order to get me motivated, just have any Star Wars character deliver the messess.
Okay, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's
Obi-Wan.
right.
I gotcha. We're on
I'll be medicated. I'll be a medication adherent for sure.
R2D2 does the pill distribution. All right.
I like
Perfect.
it. Wow, we're coming up with fantastic product ideas.
Innovation.
Yeah. So maybe can you share an example of what a highly personalized patient experience actually would be like?
Yeah, and I there's kind of a spectrum, right? So if I'll tell you the bottom of the spectrum so that we can distinguish the top of the spectrum. So think about mammograms, right? Everybody's pushing to get mammograms. We all know the value of that. Kind of at the bottom of the spectrum is maybe your doctor puts a poster in his office, which means some people see the same message sometimes in the same way, right? Super generic. That's just the bottom of the room. If we go up through a maturity and evolution curve and get to truly personalized, now we're talking about certain people like women between the ages of 45 and 64, plus men who are at risk for breast tissue cancer, receiving a message in a modality that has been identified best for them at a time that is more appropriate based on their history of getting mammograms, their compliance, the timing of the year they do it, risk factors, and then engaging them in a way that allows for like one-click scheduling. So for me, texting, great way to reach me. So if you send me a link and all of a sudden I realize, oh, this is right, this is my time of year, and you say, click here to schedule, you have me, I'm scheduled. And we know in healthcare, right, if you can get scheduled, you still have a no-show challenge, but if you can get scheduled, that's half of the battle. So really going from, so that's one person getting a specific message at a specific time in a modality that drives action. So that's from a messaging and campaign, and you can pivot that to care as well, right? So thinking about, you know, people who virtual care or in-home care, or what's the type of care modalities that are best for them that will resonate, that again, will drive behavior, that drive outcomes. So I think that's the spectrum that I would use. That's an example.
Well, thanks for that. And what are some of the factors that are driving this personalization trend in healthcare? Like, is there anything there's no compliance that I know of, but
right.
what's sort of pushing organizations to go this route?
What I think we're seeing is that patients and members and people, right, whatever word you use in your organization, are demanding it, quite frankly. We look at, I tell health plans and health systems all the time, you're no longer competing against the health plan down the street, right? You're competing with every experience that person has. And so everybody wants the Amazon experience, right? I want a customized experience to me. I want something that meets my needs, you know, at my time and in my place. So I think there's a high customer demand for it, just as we compare our experiences across the board. It doesn't matter that the health plan down the street isn't doing it, because when I go do my online grocery shopping, this is what I'm used to doing, so this is how I want to access my healthcare. So I think that's probably the biggest driver that I see. Rich, I'm not sure if you...
Yeah, I mean, consumerization in healthcare, right? With the pandemic, if it's had any sort of side effect, it's been that consumers, those of us that consume healthcare, recognize that healthcare can do this, just like other industries do, the Amazon experience, and that healthcare needs to drive that more than they have in the past. And so personalization, the know me, right, the know me slogan is important, it's critical.
And you brought up a good point about other industries. Another area that I think we need to think about in healthcare is we're behind other industries in how we use data and technology. We all know that. Everyone in this place right now knows that. So when we look at CPG and retail and financial service and how they're using data to personalize an experience or to personalize how they take care of their customers, we could learn a lot. I think, the same type of analytics that you use to decide to push someone to Coke instead of Pepsi, it's a similar construct for it's different variables, but you're going for some sort of behavior. You want somebody to choose a healthy behavior. And so I think we need to really learn from our other industries about how they're leveraging data, how they're catering to the consumer, and learn from all the mistakes they've already made and what they've accomplished, right?
Well, you're definitely making my inner marketer very happy, because a lot of these are marketing concepts that you're talking about.
Very much. I think, in my past, when there was a clinical program we had built, we sent our clinicians to sales training, and they were furious because they're like, we're clinicians, we don't go to sales training. It was the best thing we ever did, because at the end of the day, you're selling engagement. You're selling a health choice, and clinicians are trained well as clinicians, but you've got to sell. And so I think that's the marketing analogy is exactly right.
So where does personalization fall relative in priority? And what I mean by that, obviously one of the top priorities this year is staffing. There's a lot of staffing challenges, but this personalization seems to be very important. But where have you seen from your clients where it sort of falls? Is it high on the list, or is it sort of,
I think it's continuing to move up. I'd be interested in Rich's perspective as well. In the health plan space, which is where I spend most of my time, the demand is ever rising, and it's at least a high strategic goal of theirs. Where we find the variation is where they are in that journey. So are we at the beginning where it's just rhetoric? Hey, we're going to personalize. Or have we thought about what that looks like? Have we developed a plan? Are we taking actions towards that plan? So I think where they are in the journey is incredibly broad across the spectrum. But I think every health plan and health system that I've been interacting with, it is on their radar, it is important, and they're looking at how to invest in it, both dollars and people.
Yeah, I would say from the provider perspective, and our customers in the provider market, it's a high priority. It's right up there with their staffing concerns.
Yeah.
And whether they've figured it out yet is another issue. But the fact that they have it very high on their priority, and it's interesting because it affects their competitive position, it affects their ability to drive additional revenue and reimbursement, it affects their ability to grow their business. And traditionally healthcare has been not-for-profit, and now we've got more for-profit entities, and so that's a concern, and marketing and sales are becoming part of that. And reaching your customer at a personal level is key to that. So it's happening.
I want to pick up on something you said. One of your questions earlier was about kind of what's driving it, right? One of the things we're seeing, even though there's not sort of industry standards or regulations, things like the STARS for Medicare Advantage, the STARS program, all of the member experience measures are jumping up in weight. They're having a significantly bigger impact on a health plan's ability to achieve a 4-star, which is where all the money is, right? So they have to pay attention to experience in the way that it's an evolution, right? The way you do that is you personalize and you customize. So I think it's not regulatory, but these accrediting bodies and these pay for performance, pay for quality constructs are really starting to pay attention to how do you drive the member experience.
What are some of the ingredients in terms of types of technologies that have to be applied in order to have a patient personalized experience?
Sure. Data would be my first answer. One of the things that, we've been talking about in healthcare, I joke, I'm like, I hate throwing this number out, but I've been in healthcare for 30 years and we're having some same conversations, right? But data that's bigger than your EMR, that's bigger than your claim set, right? Data that you would not expect to have anything to do with what you're studying, because you'd be surprised how powerful it can be. So data, 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 data. When you have that much data, you need a platform and an architecture that can handle it, right? Both from, can you get it in, can you get it connected, can you manage it, right? All of that technology piece. So you need a technology stack that can handle that. And then what are your layers on the top around, whether it be CRM or managing campaigns, and so it's a layered, I think, data, platform, and what stack of services are you using on top of that?
I would also consider what's being used in other industries. If you think about behavioral science as an example, behavioral science in terms of sort of managing patient expectations around behavior, messaging and communicating with patients in the way they expect to be communicated with. There's a partner of ours, Lirio, excellent partner, and they have a behavioral scientist on staff, and they build their models for personalization around the behavioral elements as well as the analytics and the data. So I think there's I think segmentation, and we've talked about this, Milissa, segmentation is just the beginning.
Right.
You have to get beyond that and actually know your patient in a multitude of aspects, not just the data side of it.
Right.
Can you share maybe some specific
Sure.
effective technologies that can be applied in this area?
Absolutely. So Rich mentioned our partner Lirio, but if we go back a step into that data platform conversation, Snowflake, for example, right? Large cloud-based platform, healthcare data marketplace, where you have immediate access to incredible amounts and vast amounts of third-party data. And that data sharing is made very easy for you to use. That's a great example of the type of technology that we would be looking at with our clients to say, this can be a vehicle to get you there. This has accelerators. This has value towards personalization. We work with a lot of vendors that have some great analytics. Rich mentioned Lirio. I think you've got couple other partnerships you're working with. I'll let you.
Yeah. So Olive, for example. In automating and building streamlined processes around the interaction. Again, there's a plethora of folks in this room that are focused on that, and again, our partnerships help us drive those types of conversations.
And it's an ecosystem play, right? Which is, you have industry expertise, you have partners who've mastered something and have validated and proven approaches to things and technologies, and then you have the client strategy. And if you can bring those together, I think that's how effective programs are built.
Where can people go to find out more information about NTT Data Services?
Easy, www.nttdata.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the information that you shared with us today. It's a lot to think about, and I'm excited for this patient-personalized future that we're heading towards.
We will send our 2D2 your way.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, if you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, please like and subscribe to YouTube or wherever you're watching this. Also, head on over to healthcareitttoday.com for the latest insights and industry news. You can also connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag HITSM. I'm Colin Hung for Healthcare IT Today. Thanks for watching.